Oh, I apologize. Yeah, I'll email it to you right now.
All right, so I'm going to get just a slow start here with introducing myself. I think most everybody's been on our call before, but my name's Nancy Kirby. I'm the Executive Director of IncubatorWorks. And we're doing these weekly Zoom calls with the effort of keeping people informed and connected on the programs that are out there to help you get through the current economic and health crisis. And on the call with me are other members of my team, Ashley Madison, our program manager, and Barry Hemley, our operations director, and MK Kellogg, our program manager, and Alfred, who has been sick, and we're so happy to have her back. So welcome back, MK. That's great. Also on the call with me today are George Miner, who told me earlier today he's down in his basement. Has it gotten any warmer, George?
No, I was just working on the heat. I was working on the heat.
And Melanie DeGraw, who both are representing REDEC, and they're going to add some really important information to our session today.
And if anyone has any questions as Nancy is speaking through the PowerPoint, you can go ahead and send a question through chat, and there will be some breaks where we answer any of your questions.
So I worked very hard on this week's presentation, and there was new information and guidance came out from the SBA late yesterday. And I worked last night to get it in and early this morning. And as you'll hear from me, the latest news today makes me wonder if I should have taken a different tack, but we're going to, I'll explain to you why. So let me see here. Let me get to share screen. All right, so can people see my PowerPoint now? Barry, is it up?
Yes, you need to just do the presentation mode.
Okay. Okay, got it?
You've got to move the actual presentation over to the other screen.
Okay. That's not, you'd think after this I'd have it straight, but I'm not there yet. So what can I say?
You might need to go up to exit full screen so that you can pull it over to the other one.
Okay.
All the way at the top. Nope, all the way to the top at the right.
Which I can't see because of the...
Nancy, under display settings,
Yeah.
you click on display settings, you can change screens there. You can swap view and slideshow. There you go.
Okay. Are we good now?
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so our agenda for today is CARES Act updates and cash flow, starting with an update and overview of the Paycheck Protection Program, the new guidance for self-employed people, which is what was issued yesterday, debt relief, economic disaster loans, and basically the EIDL loans. Our new thing is the Steuben County Emergency Loan Program and new rules for retirement plans, hardship withdrawals. The reason I wondered, after this morning's news, if I should have changed this presentation is that the PPP is fully subscribed. So that means most banks are now not accepting applications. Heard that late this morning. Also got an email from Congressman Reed's office a little bit later saying that Congress fully intends to put more money into this program. So right now the program isn't doing it. Oh, let me back up. So good news is if you got an approval, even though you didn't get your money, if you have a confirmation number and approval, you will get your money from this round. If your application is in and it didn't get approved, you're probably going to have to wait for the next round. That's the frustrating thing, is that the money did run out very quickly. And remember, from the beginning, we're saying apply as soon as you can. And so that advice was accurate. So that said, we're still going to go through it because it is very likely that it will get approved for additional funding. And we'll just continue as we go through this to talk about where it is now and where it might be. So, as we said before, a disclaimer, we don't know all the answers, but if we can't answer your question, we'll do our best to find the answer. And these are general observations and not specific recommendations for your business. So if you have questions during this time, please feel free to use the chat option, or if you want to raise your hand in the question section, that's fine too. So total available, 349 billion. It's all been used up. Though I did hear something just a little while ago that there was still 50 billion left. So who knows where we are right now. Local and regional banks have been more responsive than national banks. It is on the first come, first serve basis. I was talking to a banker friend yesterday. He said they'd processed 150 applications as of yesterday. And this is for a small bank. You know, they have 2 or 3 commercial loan officers. So they've been working 16-hour days. So far, we know that 4 of you have been approved. So 4 of the people that have been on these calls have got confirmation numbers. I think there's more than that. Great thing is, all told, I think the money altogether is about 180,000. Oh, I just got a text from one of those people. So no money is flowing yet. Just a text literally this minute that one of them is getting their money today. So that's how quickly things are changing. Loan overview, just a quick refresher. It's for 2 years. That's for anything that's not forgiven. And remember, if you use it for payroll or other approved costs, it'll be forgiven. 1% interest rate on any balance not forgiven. No collateral or personal guarantee, no credit check. And it's 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. Actually, I just said this, the money can be used for loan forgiveness if you use it for payroll costs over the 8-week period after the loan is made. You have to use at least 75% of the loan proceeds for payroll. You can also use some of it for mortgage interest, rent, and utility costs. Sorry, this is like the 3rd or 4th Zoom call today. So now here's the new stuff. For self-employed, guidance that came out late yesterday, you need your 2019 IRS Form Schedule C, line 31 net profit amount. The loan amount is the net profit from line 31 divided by 12 multiplied times 2.5. Even if you haven't filed, you still take your 2019 profit and loss and you put it on Schedule C. And you may also need to provide invoices and or bank statements to prove that you actually have an actual business. So none of those things are very difficult. The only thing is making sure you've got your Schedule C. For a self-employed person with no employees, what can the funds be used for? And this is the cool thing. You can use it to replace owner compensation. So you get this PPP, you're a proprietorship, you use the money to pay yourself for the next 8 weeks. There's also, when you get into the details, they talk about mortgage interest and rent payments as being allowable, but then it goes on to describe them as not being forgiven. So I said we recommend you don't ask for them. Actually, it should be more like recommend that you don't use the proceeds to pay for them. But you can use the money to pay yourself, so that's pretty cool. All right, After the last session, a couple of people said to me, can you show us the form and exactly where the information is coming from? Because they were confused. So I'm going to ask Barry to pull up a Schedule C right now.
Oh, I don't, Nancy, I don't have the Schedule C.
Okay. That's the PDF I sent last night. Can you
Yep, let me,
pull that up? Or
sorry, I will, yep, I'll grab it right
can
now.
you see it? So what I did is I took a form off the IRS website and I set it up with a kind of a pro forma Schedule C for a graphic designer named Jane Doe. And what did that look like? Any luck yet, Barry?
And not yet.
Barry, I'm forwarding it to you right now.
Okay.
So you didn't put it into the actual presentation, did you, Ashley?
I did, and I sent it to you.
Okay, because this one's supposed to be the one you sent me, but oh well.
Okay.
I have to ask your patience because, like I said, this is the third one today. Ready, Barry? Or
Yes, you just have to unshare and then I'll share
okay,
mine.
okay. So Barry's going to pull up the Schedule C. All right, so this is for Jane Doe. She's a graphic designer. And in 2019, she made $100,000. That's on her gross receipts. That's her total gross receipts on line 1. As you scroll down, you'll see we've got a cost of goods sold there of $25,000. So she probably paid somebody to do some photography and video work for her. And so that comes out of her gross, and she has a gross income of $75,000. If you scroll down a little bit further, Barry, you'll see her total expenses for running her business are $15,000. For example, she rents an office and has insurance. So her net income from her Schedule C is $60,000. That's line 31. All right. So if you could stop sharing, and I'll go back to sharing mine and see if that works. Again. Screen 2. Okay. Okay, am I back to where I should be? Everybody see? Okay, so I mean, the math is pretty simple, but I thought it would help to see it. So you take the 60,000, you calculate the monthly amount, which you divide it by 12 is 5,000, and you multiply it by 2.5. So Jane can ask for 12,500 in the PPP, and then she can use that to pay herself.
Nancy, you're going to want to go to the display settings again and just change that.
Okay. All right, display. There we go.
Yep. And then swap.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Oddly enough, they're on different screens than they were before, but oh well. It works. So okay. So there's the calculation of the amount. As I said, she can use it to pay herself. And here's the crazy thing. Remember from our conversations from prior weeks that the forgiveness of the PPP is not taxable. So the value of what she just paid herself is significant because if she were paying the income tax on that $12,500, for most people, they'd be typically at least a quarter of their gross.
Yep.
So another new thing that came out yesterday is what about partnerships? Partnerships can actually file on behalf of all the partners. So they file one PPP. However, only the self-employment income of the partners is eligible. So let me explain why that's a factor in partnerships. Partnerships are used often for real estate rental. So if somebody has a couple of apartment houses and they own it with 2 or 3 other partners, And so the net income from those rentals is split between the different partners, and they all report the income on their tax return. That's not self-employment income because it's seen as a return of capital. Same partnership, let's say there's 3 partners and they run a construction business and they all work in it. So their share of the income in that construction business is self-employment income, and that construction partnership could file for PPP for those 3 partners. It appears that this rule also applies to S corporations, but haven't seen anything yet on that. You've heard this before. Where do you go for the loan? Your bank or credit union. I was talking with someone before we started, and she said that for a long time, her bank wasn't accepting these PPPs. So that's been really frustrating for lots of people. And it's sad that people have been shut out just because they can't get a bank to accept their application. You know, they apply as soon as you can. We'll have to really pay attention over what's happening in the next few days, and we'll be sure to update you again next week. And be patient. Once you get your application in, the bankers, especially the local and regional bankers, are really working hard to take care of our local and regional businesses. So, questions? Do we have any questions, Ashley or Barry?
I don't see any.
Not
Sorry, I have a question, but I kind of don't really expect anybody will be able to answer, but I thought I'd just throw it out there and just in case. So given that I'm one of those people who was unable to apply with our bank that we have our checking account with for the business, I started applying to anybody who would take our application. And at this point, I'm concerned. I don't really know how the process works. So if the loan goes, or the application goes to SBA from multiple different people, will they just take the one that goes in first, or does anybody know how that works?
I think they're likely to take the one that comes into them first.
Okay.
And then after that's approved, the other ones would be automatic denial, because they're going to run the ID information. So I think you'll be okay. And,
so there's a second part to this question, and that is the first person who, or the first bank that would actually take our application, and I think that they have submitted it, but they would not accept my my salary as part of the loan, which was really weird because they needed a 1099, and I don't do a 1099 as a single entity. I mean, a single owner LLC. So a single owner LLC with employees, but he would only take the salaries of the employees. So the other people I've spoken with had no problem taking my draws as part of that that figure. So it's a significant difference in the loan amount. I'm trying to decide if I should, withdraw the other loan.
So the whole conversation we just went through about the proprietorship actually applies to an LLC like you. Mm-hmm. And what they should take is your LLC net income, which is what is taxable to you as the member of the LLC. But
so far, what people have been taking is like QuickBooks, QuickBooks report, and because we haven't done our taxes yet, especially now that there's they've extended that deadline.
Yeah. So I would leave it as it is, even though I don't think they interpreted it correctly, and hope that maybe it got through the approval process, because you're better off getting something than nothing. But
Yeah.
But if it gets rejected and you have to start all over again, then I would ask for the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know, because they didn't even open the program to sole proprietors until last Friday. And sole proprietors are basically partnerships, LLCs, Schedule Cs, all those types of businesses. So they opened it up Friday, and here we are running out of money on basically Wednesday night. I
Yeah.
did get a text from one of our entrepreneurs. She got approved last night. And I'm gonna have to call her and tell her that, boy, she just made it under the
Just
deadline.
under the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was part of the initial program description but I think just the way it was implemented, there was just so much I know because I, ended up having to try to apply to so many different banks.
Yeah.
That
Banks are
they all do it.
definitely interpreting it and applying it differently. No
Yeah.
question about that.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for the perspective. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
From me.
Okay. So debt relief, just a reminder that the SBA is going to be paying for any of your SBA guaranteed loans for the next 6 months. The EIDL loans, new information on this. You originally could borrow up to $2 million, but now it looks like they're going to cap it at $25,000. Interest rate is 3.75 for business. No personal guarantee up to $200,000. It's kind of ironic since they'll probably cap it at 25. So it looks like no personal guarantee or no collateral for the $25,000 loans they expect to do. They will check your credit. It's to be used for expenses that could have been met if the disaster had not occurred. And oddly enough, I just saw this last night too, farmers aren't eligible. The EIDL grant, the $10,000 grant that's part of this program, is supposed to be received 3 days after applying for the EIDL. This is not happening. Though we did hear from one of the SBDC reps today that some of the people that applied for this like 3 weeks ago were getting their EIDL grant, the $10,000. The SBA is now saying that the $10,000 is determined based upon your number of employees, $1,000 an employee. I know the last few weeks we've been telling sole proprietors to file, sole proprietors with no employees to file, and that they would get the $10,000. Sorry guys, it looks like that's not going to happen. And the SBA says that you can use the EIDL funds, especially the advance, to pay sick leave to employees, pay their payroll, cover increased supply chain costs, other expenses that cannot be paid due to revenue losses. So some changes here that are actually pretty significant. The application process is still online and the SBDC will help. They're still overwhelmed. There was a news release this morning from the SBA and they said that the SBA has processed more than 14 years worth of loans in less than 14 days. So they are doing their best, but like everybody, they're overwhelmed. This slide is from last time and really not many changes. So our recommendation still is to file for the EIDL. It'll take a long time, but it could still be a good loan if you receive it and help you get through some working capital shortfalls. Just don't expect to see it quickly. It's probably going to take a couple months to get this money. So questions on the EIDL?
Nancy, it's George Miner. Are you going to talk about that express bridge loan that's part of EIDL? Okay.
Yeah, after your conversation last week, I actually added some slides on that, George. So.
Good. It's just a way to get that money faster if you have an SBA loan already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so no questions on the EIDL?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So for pre-revenue companies, I was told previously that you did not have to show.
Sorry, Romy, I lost part of that, but I'm assuming that for pre-revenue companies, you didn't have to show a loss of revenue. And I think you're correct. I think pre-revenue startups are still eligible for the EIDL.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is what George was talking about and what he told us about last week that was some new information to us. And there is an SBA Express Bridge loan, and it's a working capital loan meant to bridge the wait for the EIDL. You apply for it if you have an existing SBA certified lender. It's 7 years, it's $25,000. Fortunately, it's a bridge because the interest rate is prime plus 6.5%. So that's a little bit steep of an interest rate in today's world. No personal guarantee. And the idea is that this would be paid in full with the EIDL proceeds. Did I get that, cover that pretty well, George? Anything?
I didn't see the prime plus 6.5 before. So that makes it, my goodness, a 10% loan. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I know, it's like, I couldn't believe that. And I think the next slide, okay, I'm gonna stop share here. This slide that's in here, right, no, it is as of 4/15, but it's hard to see. So Barry, you wanna
Sure.
show the other one? So I stopped share, so you should be able to pull it up now.
All right.
So you might remember last week I showed this spreadsheet. It's on America's SBDC website. And it's a great spreadsheet. And I was so glad I checked it yesterday as I was preparing this because it's been updated as of April 15th. And let's take a look at the SBA Express Bridge loan and make sure that I got the interest rate right. So if we look at that column.
Well, it says not to exceed
Okay.
prime, but I don't know who's determining that.
Yeah.
Because you are working with a banker now. You're not just going into a portal and submitting stuff.
Yeah.
To a SBA site.
So once again, you can find this on America's SBDC website, and they are updating it. So it's a really good chart. Like if you look at the Small Business Debt Relief Program, that's one we're talking about. If you have an SBA loan, they'll pay all 6 payments. Well, they pay payments for 6 months. That information is all there. So hopefully we've highlighted these things for you in our presentation over the last few weeks. If you go down to the very bottom, Barry, please, you'll see the notes. And this is where, and there's some crazy things there, like under the EIDL, the disaster loan, farming enterprises are not eligible. And those are okay for business less than 1 year old. And you can see the under the PPP, the guidelines for the sole proprietors, it's about under the notes down close to the documentation requirements. That's where I found all these new rules that were published just yesterday by going to the reference that was in there. Important strategic consideration down at the bottom. George and I heard about this today in the call we were on earlier. So if you get the PPP, and if you've already laid off employees, you should be sure that they will come back to work prior to accepting the full loan. In order to be fully forgiven, you must maintain full payroll. Employees may be collecting new unemployment benefits that provide an increase in pay. So employers that have gotten the PPP are having a hard time getting their employees to come back to work because they're getting unemployment with the $600 weekly bonus. Now, that note might make you think that you have to have the exact same employees coming back, and it's not. You just have to get back to full employment. And as we discussed last week, you have time to do that. You basically have to be back at where you were by June 30th. So if you had, so not an issue if you're a sole proprietor, because you don't have to worry about bringing employees back. So let's say you had 4 employees as of February 15th, and by June 30th, you have to have 4 employees back in the full-time equivalent. So highly recommend this spreadsheet. All right, Barry, you want to give me back the screen share?
Mhm.
And
Well, just to clarify, I'm a sole owner LLC with employees. Does that make me? Is that the same thing as being self-employed?
yes, you are self-employed.
Okay.
All right, do I need to do the swap again, Barry?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. All right, so that's that slide. Small business tax provisions. So no, here, believe it or not, no changes since last week. These are applicable if you don't get PPP. I almost feel like we should, now that PPP has been shut down for a while, at least for a while, it's like maybe we should talk about these again. But I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'm going to remind you that that small business tax provisions give you a $5,000 credit for every employee that you have employed during this period. So a little more involved than that, but that's the basic rule. It gives you the opportunity to defer your Social Security taxes on your employees and your self-employment tax on yourself for almost a full 2 years. And it gives you an opportunity. Those are the 2 main things. Sorry, my memory isn't, should have pulled up last week's presentation and had it handy. So it may be worth a second look at these. If the PPP doesn't get refunded, then you want to come back and look at these. And there's nothing you have to do now. You just need to make sure that you don't lose the credits that you have coming to you if you don't get the PPP. People are asking us, which should I do, the Paycheck Protection Program or the tax credits and the deferrals? And it's an easy answer. If you're eligible for the PPP, you apply for the PPP. If you miss out on it, then you take these tax credits. All right. Actually, I should ask, well, we'll come back around. If anybody has any specific questions about the tax credits, we can answer them at the end. With this, I'd like to ask George to share some good news with everybody about the Steuben County Emergency Relief Loan Program.
Unmute and turn on my video. Here we go. I'm reading your screen. That looks pretty good. Yes, the county, Steuben County IDA and the county legislature just approved about $500,000 to give to REDEC to loan out to Steuben County businesses. They're looking to do loans of $5,000 to $20,000. They're looking to do this with existing small businesses. Some of the criteria not on here. Business has to be in business for a full year. The business needs to employ up to 50 people, 2 to 50 people. Basically, I heard sole proprietor a lot here today, but so you and one other person, up to 50 people. The interest rate is correct, 1%. It's a 30-month loan. The first 6 months are no principal, no interest, and then 2 years of principal and interest. Requires personal guarantee. We're looking for any kind of collateral we can grab, but we're not expecting a lot. Usually there's going to be, somebody in front of us. There always is, a bank. Minimum credit score of 620. What else can I tell you? This money's going to be available through the end of October for now. They were anticipating that we would go through this money, in like 2 weeks. It's going to take a little bit longer than that. We have about is just working on some today. We've got about 20 applicants so far. I don't know how many of them will get funded. They're all businesses that have been around for, 8, 13 years, some of them 3 or 4 years, but it's a lot of it's just hearing, talking to people, hearing about the impacts and that, and a lot of political commentary. When's the governor going to lift this stuff? The governor just extended the what does he call it? The non-essential businesses through May, pause through May 15th. He just added another 15 days to it. So we'll see how this goes. So it was I was surprised how many dentists have applied for this. They're closed except for emergency surgeries.
I just forwarded the screen for you too. There's quite a few things you were talking about there, George.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
yeah, dentists have been really hurt.
I was surprised to get them. You think as dentists, as wealthy doctors, but most of them have bought somebody else's practice and are sending money to a previous dentist every month to buy the practice. And it's funny. I do a lot of equipment loans, and so when I do go to a physician of any type, the last one was Dr. Dozak in Elmira. He had some new machine he was using on my very old and tired eyes. And he was groaning about how it cost like $50,000. So the equipment that they're using, X-ray machines and all that kind of stuff, they're paying a lot of debt on, and they're not getting any relief. I got a call from a museum today on this Steuben County fund. Unfortunately, not-for-profits are not eligible. Not-for-profits are having a hard time finding programs for eligibility. I know the PPP program, they're eligible if they're a 501c3. My organization's a 501c4. I don't really know the difference. I had to Google that to figure out why I'm a C4, but we are. So I'm not eligible to apply for PPP. But again, back to the loans, $5,000 to $20,000, 1% interest for 30 months, first 6 months, no principal or no interest payments. We're looking for businesses are going to need to commit to reopen within 30 days after the pause is lifted. That came up after talking to the loan committee and our funders, like a hairdresser. Can we fund a hairdresser? They're closed. They're not allowed to see anybody. There's no curbside. There's no delivery. The way restaurants are surviving. And the answer came back, yes, but we want them to commit to reopen within 30 days after pause. I don't see why they wouldn't, but I don't know. Are there any questions on that?
George, what's the turnaround time for that? So when somebody gets an application,
we're going to try to do it in 10 days. We're going to try to do it all electronically. Bank fortunately allowed us to do wire transfers without charging us. Usually there's like a $35 fee. So, we're cutting checks just because we're a not-for-profit trying to save money anywhere we can, but they're allowing us to do wire transfers for free. So we're looking to turn them around from the time we get a full application to approving and wire transferring funds within 10 days. That's the goal.
How do people apply, George?
They should contact me. Well, let me give you a better address. It's just info@redec.us. I don't know where we got the US from. We don't cover the whole country. We just cover 3 counties, but info@redec.us. And I can wire it. What we're doing is we're sending out an intake form, just a 1-pager, just to quickly tell people whether they're eligible to apply or not. And I got 90% of them so far are. And then we're sending you an application and asking for things a bank usually does: tax returns, personal financial statement for everybody that owns 20% or more of the company. And what we're looking to do is get an itemized list of, because we know everybody's just going to ask for $20,000. and the funders want to make sure that this lasts. We can stretch it as far as we can. So we're looking for an itemized list of, what do you, if you're asking us for $15,000, what are you going to use the $15,000 for? Is a mortgage payment, rent payment, utility payments? That's all legitimate stuff. Somebody wanted to pay for training, and so I referred them to CSS Workforce New York to see if they get that stuff for free. That wasn't what we were looking to use the funds for. We're looking to get companies to pay their bills and keep whatever employees they have on board for now, and be able to reopen and rehire people as soon as the pause is lifted.
So a good example of what somebody might want, let's say somebody got the PPP, so they got their payroll covered, but they need money to pay their property insurance.
Yep.
And to pay equipment loans. That's, what they could use this money for then.
Yeah, to pay Time Warner, to pay to pay for your internet, to pay for all those bills you get, insurance. I went to IncubatorWorks. I don't know, Barry, when was I there? Yesterday, the day before, and that was half my bills was bills for insurance. They got to get paid, and that's one of the companies that applied out of Hammondsport was an insurance company, because his business had dropped like 75% because people were canceling their insurance. They got to pay somebody, just like looking at your bills, who am I going to pay? And that was the one that they decided not to pay was like renter's insurance and commercial liability insurance, and just stuff that they felt that they could live without until they reopened. So it's across the board is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So another thing is stay tuned, because different municipalities across the region are talking about doing something. So
yeah, everybody's got a little.
This is a good place to find out what they're doing.
Yeah, everybody's got a little variation. Tompkins County is doing up to $5,000, but as long as you're in business and operating in December of 2020, the end of this year, the loan is forgiven. It's a little different theme. And I was trying to get in touch. I was texting with the people in Chemung County as we were starting this, but I didn't get a clear answer. They're looking at doing something in Chemung County. I don't know if they're going to contract with REDEC to administer a program or do it themselves. Either way, thanks, Barry. Either way. We'll get more information. You can contact me about the Chemung County program too, and as soon as I know something, I can either send you whatever REDEC's doing for the program, or send you where to find out about that program. But I believe we should hear something on that. I thought we'd hear it later on today. It may be early next week sometime. They had to go find out where, they had to talk to county executive and other entities to find out where they're going to get the money to loan the businesses. That hadn't been resolved yet.
Are there questions for George? Did I see some notes about questions?
I guess Tompkins County too. I was curious about if you've heard anything.
What did I say? I'm sorry. Tompkins County. Yes, that was the one. I'm sorry. In Ithaca, Tompkins County, up to $5,000.
Okay.
They were doing, and if your business was still in business December of 2020, that loan was forgiven.
Yeah, I just talked to Alternatives this afternoon, and they said it's already overprescribed.
Wow.
It started yesterday. Yeah.
That was the hardest thing in setting up the Steuben County program is they were so nervous about it being prescribed. One of the things that makes me a little bit nervous about the way this was set up, and we can work through that, is those, I said it was a 30-month note, 1%. If you borrow $20,000 at 1%, 6 months, no principal and no interest, and then you have 2 years of 1% loan payments, that's $842 a month. That's a lot of money. That's a mortgage. So I got a feeling we're going to be restructuring some of those for people that can't handle that. And that's fine, because if we're restructuring it, it means you're still in business. And that's what we want. But that was one of the concerns, but that doesn't surprise me about Tompkins County, and they may allocate more money for it. So I would keep on looking at that. Tioga County has a program. Tioga County being Waverly Owego. The only one that does not have a program that I'm aware of yet is Schuyler County in Watkins. But they have other loan funds that may be available. They've always had their own county loan fund that can loan up to $20,000 to businesses. So if you are in Schuyler County, you can feel free to contact me and I can steer you in that direction. We handle a 8-county Southern Tier loan program for StreetX, Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Corporation. So I know all the economic development officials from Shenango County. I guess that's about as far east as we go, through Broome, through Tompkins, all the way to Hornell. So if you have any questions, if you have a business in those other counties, still go ahead and use that info, or just G Minor, MINER. Actually, I should use the chat and put my email in there, right, Barry? You already did that. Good.
Well, I put the info at redec.us. I was just questioning whether or not I had the right address or not.
You got it. I'm going to put my personal one in too, because that info actually goes to Melanie DeGraw. That's getting the brunt of these applications for now. But if you have if you need information on what's going on in some of these other counties, feel free to shoot me an email and I can steer you to where to either to the answer or where to get that answer.
Okay. Do we have any more questions for George? All right. Hearing none, we'll continue on. So just, I know we sound like a broken record, but contact your banker as soon as you can. Even without all these other things, ask for a 3-month loan deferral to get through this time. They're pretty much expecting you to do that and would almost always approve it. Okay, something we haven't talked about before is hardship withdrawals from your retirement plans during COVID-19. You may be familiar with this, may not, but there is a 10% penalty if you take money out of your retirement plan before you're 59 and a half. So new law is if you take it for a COVID-19 related reason, there's no 10% penalty. So that's for someone who's diagnosed with COVID, spouse or dependent is diagnosed, or who experiences adverse financial consequences as a result of being quarantined, being furloughed, being unable to work due to lack of childcare, or closing or reduced hours of business owned by the individual. So several of those reasons are going to apply to anybody here in New York State during this time. So basically, you could take money out of your retirement plan without any penalty. Also, the automatic 20% federal withholding will not be taken out of these distributions. So if you're going to take $10,000 out of your retirement plan pre-COVID, you would lose $3,000 of it right off the top for 10% for penalty and 20% for federal withholdings. But that won't happen now. And you have 3 years to repay it. So in effect, it becomes a loan from your retirement account. If you don't repay, tax can be paid over a 3-year period instead of all at once in the year distribution. So this all sounds good, except that we've had we've gone from being at the highest in the market to one of the lowest in a long time. So you may, if you need to do this, then obviously there's a need, but you might be taking money out of your account at one of the lowest points, which is not a great thing to do. You can also have increased loans from your account beginning 180 days starting on March 27th, and you can borrow up to 100,000 or 100% of the account, whichever is smaller. So any questions about hardship withdrawals from retirement plans? Okay. Don't see any hands or any indication. So in our ongoing thing of protecting your cash flow, expect to see, if you haven't already, you should be getting credits on your automobile insurance. I've seen them from State Farm, from USAA. I don't know who else yet, but I think Geico's doing it. So it's a 20 to 25% reduction for at least a couple of months. The health insurance plan grace period is extended from 45 days to 60 days. That's the governor has done that. There's also an extended grace period to 60 days for property insurance. We talked about the loan payment deferrals from banks. And overall, you need to develop cash flow projections, a three-month minimum. So how are you going to get through the next 3 months? And then how are you going to get back to business, assuming that we're not going to be able to go back directly to, we're not going to go from this to normal. It's going to be a transition period. So we need to talk about that and think about that and what it's going to look like. And we had planned to start on that this week, but found that there are just too many changes in the other things. So, but stay tuned for next week, because I want us to spend some time working on that together next week. These are some links we had before, good research on backgrounds on, oh, and here comes my cat Ginger. She loves Zoom calls. And more info on the CARES Act and small business, along with information for the Small Business Development Center and George's contacts, even a phone number there for George. And our contact info. We also would like to have feedback. So in particular, if you've been with us on these calls and you've been approved for the PPP, please let us know that you've been approved in the amount. We will not share the amount with anyone or any details of your company, but it does help us to show that we are responding to the needs of our community. So I was talking about herding cats on an earlier call today, and then my cat Ginger jumped up on the table. So she it's like, oh, you can talk about cats? I'll be there with you. So, and our whole focus on these last few weeks is making sure that our small businesses and our entrepreneurs in our community get a share of this money. You know, we're always just so afraid that the larger businesses that have more resources are the first ones in to get their application in, and small businesses where the owner has to do not only has the business to run and doesn't have much time to do the applications would not get this money. And I think that's happened for a lot of entrepreneurs. So our thoughts for next week are to work on cash flow, but we welcome your ideas for other things we should talk about. So please leave your suggestions for next week in the chat. And we're going to do, that'll be we were planning on the rest of April because we were all hoping we could get back to business as usual May 1st, but we'll have to rethink. Probably should add another 2 weeks to this. Some of that depends on your feedback. So if you want us to keep doing this, we certainly will. And here's something we'd like to invite you to also. We run a program called Co-Starters. It's a 10-week program to help entrepreneurs take their ideas from being an idea to developing it into an actionable business. And in particular, the idea is at the end of Co-Starters, you're ready to do a full-fledged business plan and launch your business. We've done it twice. Our graduates are really excited about what they've learned, and we think it makes a real difference for the success of a business. We planned on doing our third Co-Starters cohort starting next week. So we're not going to be doing that, but what we are going to do instead is do a short course. It's going to be on the dates you see in front of you, April 24th, April 28th, and May 1st. It'll be an hour on each of those days, and our focus is going to be on something called the Business Model Canvas, which is a good way to look at your idea and your business and develop it into a success. And, you know, talk about developing business. It's also a good way for an existing business to look at what they're doing. And in particular, we think that this is going to be a very powerful tool for existing businesses to look at how they have to basically reinvent themselves to succeed in the new normal. So we are asking for RSVPs. You can see there RSVP to Ashley A. Madison at IncubatorWorks.org. And we hope that some of you can join us. We think it's going to be a very powerful tool. We're going to keep the groups ideally to 10 to 12 so we can have great interaction. If we find that we're oversubscribed, then we'll think about doing another session also. So that's our last slide for today, and I'd like to open it up for questions or feedback.
Nancy, this is Roger Grace.
Hi, Roger.
Greetings. Thank you again. You went through that slide on contact information very quickly. I think it was 2 slides back. Would you be so kind to bring 2 slides back with the contact information?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
There we go. Can you see it okay, Roger?
Yes, I can. Hold on. I got to copy this.
All right. Do we have other questions?
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, I have another question. Is it possible for somebody to collect unemployment during all of this? If you own a business, can you collect unemployment? If you're a single proprietor, you can.
Yes, you can. Yeah, that's a big change in past unemployment rules. So yes, you can. And even if you're filing now, you can go back to the beginning of New York Pause. So you don't have to worry that you've lost unemployment. You can go back and file for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And one more. Can you do a PPP and an EIDL, or does one disqualify you from the other?
No, you can do them both.
And you can get funded from both.
But you can get funded from both. And do P and unemployment. So you could do unemployment up until the time they refund the PPP, and then you need to stop your unemployment.
Marvelous, and thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Well, as always, feel free to contact us in between, and if something comes up that needs to be addressed, or you hear something or read something in the news and you say, oh my gosh, what does this do to what I expected, don't hesitate to contact us.
Yeah, every day it seems to be new news, so feel free to send emails, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, it seems like there was something else I wanted to mention. Let me just look here and see if I have can find a note. No, I guess we talked about it. So the New York Pause. So hopefully we'll be able to look forward to getting back out there and restarting our businesses very soon. So we'll just keep working at it. All right. And hope that some of you will be joining us for co-starters. And anything else, Ashley or Barry?
No, I think we've got all the links up that came out, so.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thanks for doing this, guys. Appreciate it.
Stay well. Oh, you're welcome. Stay well, and we'll look forward to working with you again next week. Next Thursday, look for the Zoom contact on either a constant contact email or a Facebook post. So talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.